is calling. I said I love you for...
Welcome back. It is the Built by Vitality podcast. I am Steve Pinkerton with my partner in crime,
Philip Lewis.
Philip Lewis. It has been a minute since we've been in the booth.
Yeah.
But we're back.
Yep.
And we've got a pretty exciting show today, don't we?
Yep. We're watching a movie together.
We are going to talk about a strategy that was used in 1920, so 100 years ago, by a psychologist. And it was kind of just an experiment that he ran. And we are going to dive in and recreate this experiment.
Are we doing it?
Yes.
Okay.
But before we do, we're gonna do something else, and we're gonna pause for about 30 seconds, and Philip is gonna grab his testing kit.
Oh, crap.
And we're gonna test his ketones, and we're gonna see, is he truly in ketosis, or is it all just a game?
And just so y'all know, you're not supposed to test in the middle of the day right after you ate.
Absolutely not. And that's why we're going to do it. And we're going to test. Actually, I'll explain in a minute where there's a special testing site that we're going to use that's more accurate than your finger. So if you guys would just stay tuned for 30 seconds here.
Why don't you talk more about what we're going to do, and I'll go get the kit.
I'm afraid that you'll never come back if I do that. So you realize when you've been with someone and you've got, you understand his demeanor. If I would have told Philip about this off air, he would have magically forgot his ketone testing kit. Instead, now the pressure's on. So
I got one strip left just for this.
Oh, wow.
I saved it just for this.
So I hope he has about 17 alcohol pads in here to...
I've never cleaned it.
Okay.
I've never even changed the needle.
There we go. Okay. So for you guys that don't understand, this is just going to measure the...
What is that?
This is one of the needles.
I got one in there.
Yeah, I know.
You're swapping it out?
We're going to swap it
I
out.
don't want a fresh one.
We're going to get a fresh one.
Man, that's
This
sharper.
is just going to test. This tells, Jess can explain this a little bit better, but basically we're looking for what does Jess tell you? 0.5?
0.5 is nutritional ketosis.
Look at this guy. Nutritional ketosis. He says, oh, geez, this is a fancy one.
I don't know how to change it. That's why I never did.
There we go.
There it is. Oh,
Okay.
and there's the needle. Oh, my gosh.
There's the needle. Oh, that's sharp. Want to hold that?
Oh, my God.
So, Philip, you'd think a guy all tatted up, he wouldn't mind needles. He actually really does not enjoy needles whatsoever.
I just do this for health reasons.
Yep.
I don't do it for enjoyment.
I actually do this 100% for enjoyment.
You just pull it and it's ready to pop. Hit the old button. Think, there it went.
No. So we're going to pull this out just a little bit to make sure. It didn't even come out. Didn't even come out.
It's not supposed to come out.
Yeah, you got to see the needle.
Oh,
you got to see the needle.
Some of my skin fat comes out. That's as low as it'll go. We don't need it that low.
I'm just telling you right now, nothing's going to happen. Look.
Something shot out of there. Could y'all? Hopefully they could see this on the camera. Something came out.
I don't know what it was. The needle's still in there. We're just gonna pull it out a little bit. All right.
When you push, it puts skin in there.
The skin.
That's
Okay.
what yeah.
Okay. We're not gonna do the finger though. Remember.
What?
All right. So.
We're not doing my carotid artery. Or something.
All right. Now, all we need to do is get a testing strip. This is the Keto Mojo, last one. We're gonna put a little blood right there.
I know where it goes.
And then we just stick this in right here. Now, with the Mojo, we turn this on.
Usually you just stick it in and it comes on. And
Do you stick it in before you prick yourself with the Mojo?
I stick it in, and while it's getting ready, I'm pricking.
Okay.
It should say 7 something, and then it does its thing. Wait for it.
All right.
Wait for it. It does this, and then it goes to that, and then it'll show ready to
All right, so let's see. You want to do your neck?
Man, come on, man. We don't need the neck. Finger. You
All
pick
right,
the
fine.
finger.
All right, fine.
God, my hands are sweaty.
They
as
are a little
crap,
sweaty.
man.
He's nervous. He's a little nervous.
Just get it over
All
with.
right, so we're going to press a little bit.
Gosh.
We're going to press down. And I like to wait about 5 seconds to really let the stress
Get it over with.
Okay. Let's give a little massage there.
Until my blood
Turn
pressure's
it,
at. Well,
turn
okay,
it.
okay. Just get it.
Well, do you have no mobility?
Just get it. Just. You don't have to go that way. It doesn't have to go that way. We're not pricking my finger again. Give me this. Oh, it ran out. Oh, my gosh. Man. Oh, man, it gave us an error because you took too long. Just slide it back in, see if it's good. Oh, God. Give me this.
He's bleeding.
What?
all
I'm bleeding
over.
everywhere. What in the world?
Oh man, this is the funnest. This is the greatest start to any podcast
I don't
ever.
understand what's going on here. This was the simplest test.
You just took too
Until-
long. Look at the amount of blood.
Oh
you got
God,
in
more's coming out. All right. If this don't give me an accurate reading,
there. Oh man, you're done.
it's an error because it's got blood on it.
Well, we're gonna have to do this again on next podcast. Man, I can't believe it. I can't believe it.
Oh, wasted the test strip.
All right, anticlimactic, but that was actually a lot of fun for me. Look at the amount of.
Blood everywhere.
Oh, geez. This might dive into this podcast really well. I mean, this might lead into it.
I'm selling this if anybody wants it.
So now that we got that over with, let's get back into this. Would you consider me as nature or nurture?
Definitely nature.
Okay. Am I somebody who has given you a lot of compliments?
Nope.
Okay. And that's why I've chosen that this is going to be an experiment we're going to follow. And let's talk about this. It's called the Compliment Club. And this, in 1920s, there's a psychologist by the name of George Crane. He taught social psychology at Northwestern University. You know where that's at?
Nope.
Chicago.
Chicago.
And his whole goal when he started, he talked about he wanted to make psychology practical to his students. And he was a younger guy, late 20s, early 30s when he first started. The first class he got was a night class. And his students were primarily workers by day, and they came to night school. So they were working in the factories and department stores and office buildings. And then at night, they came to these college courses and just tried to improve their education. So he had a little bit older crew. This wasn't your typical 18 to 22-year-old. This was mid-20s. Was his
mid-30s, and they're working.
Yeah, and they're working. So he decided that his first assignment was going to be to use their psychology every day, either at home or work. For the first month, they would pilot the Compliment Club, as he called it. And the assignment was easy. Every day, they were to pay a compliment to each of 3 different people. They could do more than 3, but they had to do a minimum of 3 people. And they must do it for 30 days to get credit for the assignment. Now, obviously, it's impossible to know whether they were compliant in this, but, and you just trusted that they were going to do their best. And at the end of 30 days, they were told to write a paper on their experiences, including the changes that they noticed in the people around them and the changes that they noticed in themselves and how their outlook on life could potentially have changed.
Essentially, he wanted them to be like Chick-fil-A employees
Yeah.
throughout the day, random,
Yeah.
like just 3 times.
Yep, 3 times to say something nice. And it was interesting because he talked about the amount of pushback and complaints he got about this assignment. And mind you, I think back to some of my college assignments, and they weren't easy by any stretch. I'm writing papers and doing research and trying to come up with this because whether you know it or not, I'm actually a psychology major. And I barely graduated, but I've got a psychology degree. Okay. And there were some tough.
That kind of makes sense.
Does it?
Yeah.
Okay. There were some tough assignments we had. And if someone told me, hey, all you have to do is say 3 nice things to people every day, I'd be like, okay. But then you think about it, and what do people fear more than anything? public speaking. So granted, this wasn't public speaking, but it was
have to
talking to
interact with somebody,
strangers, interacting. So these students, they complained a lot. They said, I don't know what to say, or I'm afraid of being rejected, or whatever. And he thought that was interesting because some even brought up that they thought it would be dishonest to compliment someone they didn't like. And what he talked about was, he explained that a compliment was an honest assessment of praise for some trait that deserves recommendation. And he reminded his students that nobody is entirely devoid of merit or virtue. And what he means by that is interesting. He means that I might not like you at all. We might not get along. But that I can't make the leap to say, okay, because I don't like you, you're not a good person.
Yeah.
We just aren't compatible, maybe. And I thought it was interesting because if you think about all the people you interact with on a daily basis, the ones that you don't like, you immediately assume the worst in those people. Mm-hmm. You don't see any good quality in them. But the reality is everybody has a good quality, I think you have some amazing qualities.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for that. Yeah, I knew that. I should have known that was coming.
But and one of the rules was you have to be specific in your compliment. You can't just say, hey, you're awesome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got to be specific and call out some trait that someone is portraying that you admire. And at the end of the 30 days, he kind of thought when he first came up with the assignment, he kind of thought, hey, it's kind of a fun assignment. We'll see. Probably no one's going to pay attention to it. No one's really going to say anything good about it. But lo and behold, at the end of 30 days, it had a profound impact on not only his students, but the people around them. And one story that he shared in this write-up that, John Maxwell was the one that wrote about this, and he talked about the George Crane study. And George Crane said that he had a student that was ready to quit her job. She did not get along with her boss. She was a legal secretary, and she was on the verge of quitting because she just could not stand this boss. Well, she decided that one of the people that she was going to compliment every day would be her boss. And it was very difficult for her. She had said that, it was very hard. It would take all morning to come up with something that she was sincere about, but she started to do it. And at the end, not only did his personality change, they ended up 2 years later getting married.
What?
It's wild. Now, granted, this is 1920. Things are probably a little bit different, but still, I mean, that's one example. But he said he had students that were kind of introverted and shy, and then all it took was saying something nice to somebody, and it just completely changed their demeanor. And then when they wrote about it, he didn't give them a length of how long the paper had to be, but people wrote pages of responses to their interactions, and it was really interesting. So he thought about that, and he said, man, imagine if more people would just approach life that way. Mm-hmm. He said that the world is starving for appreciation. It's hungry for compliments. But somebody's got to start the ball rolling. Someone's got to speak first and say something nice. And that was in 1920. Here we are, 101 years later, and I would say we are in the exact same position that we were back in 1920, where the solution to many of our problems is grace. It's
God, be nice.
Just be nice to people. Yeah. Instead of picking a fight with every single person, when you hear someone that has a different view than you, maybe you say, gosh, it's really refreshing to hear that point of view. It's, I'm glad to see you're so passionate about that. It's okay that they believe something different. Yeah. And I think this is something that I've always struggled with. Obviously, if I was to, and here's my thought process. This is a pretty dumb way to look at it, but this is how my brain works. I thought as I was preparing for this podcast, I said, man, I need to do this because I'm not somebody that gives praise. But then my justification for not wanting to do it is it's gonna feel so weird. People are gonna think I'm a weirdo because they're so used to the way I am that it's gonna sound weird having a compliment come from my mouth. That is a ridiculous way to think about it.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm not gonna be more of a nurturer.
You're not going to be nice to somebody because they might think something's off.
Yeah. Now let's just pump the brakes for a second. Now, when I say that I'm not much of a nurturer, I'm not saying I'm not a nice person.
You're nice. You just don't give a compliment.
Yeah. You think I'm a nice person, don't you?
Yes. Yes, I do.
No, but I'm a nice person.
Yeah.
I get along with people.
You're just not going to walk around about, man, your outfit looks good today.
Yeah, that's just not me.
Man, you've been really trimming down, looking good. Yep. But you're still going to be nice in general. Hey, how are you? How was your day? But you're not just giving a compliment.
And that's funny when I say, I just said a minute ago, I said, that's not who I am. What do you mean that's not who I am? Why can't I be the person that makes you feel good about yourself?
Yeah.
And it's really ridiculous.
Anybody can do that. They just have to try.
Yeah. And I get it. John Maxwell, when he wrote this article or wrote this book, he talked about how, nowadays it might sound kind of cheesy to have a compliment club. I get it. But I really don't think so. Because I think there's a lot of people like me that think that you don't need to give people praise or compliments or whatever. I don't know why. I don't know where I came up with that. It's not like my dad taught me when I was a kid, don't say nice things to people. Yeah. In the Marine Corps, that's not what they taught me. It's not like because I'm a Marine, I'm not nice.
People are different in the sense that maybe somewhere in your mind, you're like, you don't need somebody to tell you that stuff.
Yeah.
You're the judge of that. Like, if you're feeling good today, looking good today, you might think it yourself. You don't need somebody to tell you that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe you think that other people don't need that, maybe?
I don't want to say that, we can talk about self-esteem, but I don't want to say that because I don't have a self-esteem issue that I don't need compliments. Yeah. But in my mind, I don't.
You're okay with yourself, so you think everybody else might be too. You don't really.
And the reality is, I'm sure nobody is completely oblivious to what other people think about them. But I think I'm comfortable enough in my own skin. I don't really need approval from other people. But everybody wants to be approved. Everybody wants to be liked.
Yeah.
So I just think that it's interesting. I read that and it completely. And maybe there's 80% of the people out there that are like, I say nice things to people all day long. That's what normal people do. I get it. Maybe I wouldn't be surprised if I am part of the minority of people that just don't give a lot of praise. But however, I think that in the entrepreneurial world, the small business world, I don't know if that's the case. I think that we're all wired in a way that you don't want to go start a business on your own because you need to get pat on the back every time you turn around. If that's the case, you're in the wrong business. We talked about that Elon Musk quote where he said, what something would you give to entrepreneurs and what advice or something?
Yeah.
And he said, if you're looking for whatever, you don't become an entrepreneur. If you're looking for a pat in the back, then you're in the wrong business.
In the wrong business,
and that that resonates. But at the same time, maybe it's people like us, the entrepreneurial spirits, that we need to realize that it's okay to make people feel good about themselves. It's okay to recognize something that someone's doing well and just say it, and I think
being nice in general goes a long way. Yeah. But then if you add compliments to it, it completely changes it. I could take somebody that's really nice and somebody else that's really nice and gives out compliments, and you're going to remember that person and that interaction a lot more.
We talked what John Maxwell used this analogy for was his elevator principle, and that made also a lot of sense to me. The elevator principle is there's two types of people in the world. There's what he calls lifters and leaners. You either lift people up or you bring people down. Mm-hmm. And what he means by a lean is you're just leaning on somebody else, bringing them down, weighing them down. And too many of us, we go through our life and we don't lift anybody up. And I'm going to be curious. I think this will be a challenge for me. I really do. I think it'll be tough. It shouldn't be, but it will be. You can't just make if it was this easy to make a change, then people would just make a change. You know
how we should do it with you?
How?
You're not allowed to give any compliments for this test when you're coaching classes. It has to be outside of it.
Yeah.
Because coaching a class, I was like, I can do this.
Easy.
I do it, coaching a class.
Yeah.
But it has to be outside of it, a different interaction. And it can't be in like somebody else's classes we walk by, just a regular, you see somebody at the grind or you see somebody at the store. It has to be like just a random one.
Yeah.
It'd be easy during a class. We could do that, no problem.
I think random would be the toughest for me because
you go to a grocery store, you don't know somebody, you say something to them, hey man, I like this, or
I'm probably end up in jail though. You know what I mean?
No, you won't. No.
Some large bearded man just told me,
look good today.
I had great mobility as I was squatting down to get the tomato sauce.
Oh my gosh. Whatever.
But I think this is something that, does it sound cheesy? Sure. But if everybody, it's kind of like that, I'm going to screw it up. The movie with the little kid that he passes it on, Pay It Forward. You ever seen that movie?
Mm-mm.
Really?
I thought you were going to say the one with Will Smith. Pursuit of Happiness.
The one you cry about all the time? Yeah. The one you and Spencer are watching in the office at like 9 o'clock at night?
Yeah, whatever.
But this Pay It Forward movie is an old movie, another one that you'd certainly be in body sobs with. Yeah. It's about a kid who comes up with this concept that you do something nice for somebody and then they do something nice for somebody. Mm-hmm. And if everybody does that, think about how many people can get affected by that.
It never stops.
You do something nice for me, and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to turn around. I'm going to do something nice for someone.
And you have to do it. It would never stop.
And it just spider webs out. And I think that's what we need right now. We need a little jolt of compassion. We're everything we do right now is so divisive. And what we're doing, the mistake we're making is we're teaching people how to treat us based on how we interact with them.
Yep.
So equally, if I'm never giving out compliments to you, guess what? You're probably not going to give me a compliment. Not because you don't like me, but just because you're reciprocating.
Yeah.
And maybe, I don't know, maybe I would love to be complimented. I don't think I would bet my life that it doesn't matter to me. But
I compliment you about 3 times a day. I try to.
Really?
Yeah.
How so?
You don't even notice it. That's how reciprocating you are.
Oh, look at this.
You like that?
Okay.
Huh?
Okay. Well, me and you will write we'll do it. What we'll do is 30 days from today, we'll do a podcast and we'll talk about how it went. And I think that it would be enjoyable and if you're out there saying, oh, what a dumb idea, guess what? You probably need to do this with us. Okay.
Like you're one of the ones that should do it.
And if you're like, oh man, this guy doesn't give any compliments, then you're probably doing okay. If you're like, who are you? You don't even.
And you never know with a compliment too. Somebody could be at the end of their ropes, their whatever.
Totally.
Mentally, they're just done. Worst day ever. And at the end of the day, you run across them and you say one thing to them, and it changes their whole course of action that they were going to do that day.
I agree.
That's a big thing.
And I think that sometimes we hesitate because we've gotten to the point now where everything you say is out of context, is taken out of context. Mm-hmm. And, I think that is a big problem where you can take a compliment and probably twist it around and say, what do you mean by that? Like, what are you talking about type of deal? When all you're trying to say is, hey, I think, I don't know.
The people that take the compliment wrong probably should do this too.
Yeah, I agree. And, what Maxwell talks about is, we tend to feel most comfortable with people whose self-esteem most resembles our own.
Yeah.
And that, he talks about how people think opposites may attract, but not when it comes to self-esteem.
Yeah.
And I think that was another thing that he talked about in his book that really hit home for me is it's so true. We search for people that are like-minded, that that have the same values that we do. And if I don't have great self-esteem, I don't want to be around someone that has a great self-esteem, like a high self-esteem. I want to be around someone that feels the same as I do, that feels as insecure as I do.
If you're in a bad mood, you want to be around somebody that's happy.
And guess what?
You want to be with somebody that's mad with you or whatever.
And do you think that those people with low self-esteem are complimenting each other and trying to raise each other up? No. They're just constantly pulling. Yeah. And all of a sudden now you've got 3 or 4 people that are pulling you down, and there's nobody lifting you up. And what he says is, I don't know how you come up with this data, but he says there's 20 to 1. For every 1 lifter, there's 20 leaners.
In today's
think about
whatever, that's probably true.
And this is what happens. So you surround yourself with people that have the same outlook on life as you do, which if it's bleak, now you've got all these other people that every time they're fueling the fire of your mood, it's just they're fanning that flame of, what about this? Can you believe this is happening? What about these people?
They're already stressed out enough, and then you're other people, they're bringing it on them.
Yep.
Like it's just adding to their plate.
Yep. And whereas if you are around positive people that have high self-esteem, they're not sitting on their phone wondering how many likes they have. Yeah. And they're like, oh man, I only have 300 likes of this video, of this picture I took. Well, maybe I'll ask Philip if he can touch up my abs and give me 8 abs instead of 0, I'll get some likes then. And before you know it, everything you're doing is just to try and put up this facade of a fake life that you're not living. And we can change that. And I think the one step, and as silly as it may sound, and that's just being nicer.
And I think if they do this test, it has to be verbal. It can't be
100%.
It has to be face to face.
Yep.
I text 3 people, random people today that I randomly talked to.
That's how we got into this problem, is texting. Yeah. That's how we got into this.
It should be face to face, eye contact. Say it.
It should make you, if you're like me, if I look at you in the face and give you a compliment, it'll make me feel uncomfortable.
Make you feel weird, yeah.
It's weird. And that is ridiculous that it does that. It's ridiculous.
It's really easy for you to yell at me.
Yeah, well, it is kind of.
See?
It is.
I'm saying.
But this
for
is just
most
something.
people, that's an easier emotion.
Yeah. 100%.
Most people can look at somebody and yell at them and do whatever, but if I got to be nice, it's really hard.
Yep.
Why is it backwards? That's the one we just talked about. Everything's backwards. That's backwards.
Yeah.
It's easy to be mean to somebody, but it's so hard to say something nice.
Yep.
Why is it like that?
And you think about it, and I've heard this from numerous people. When you have an incident, if your reaction to that incident is greater than the incident, it makes that response worse.
Yeah.
If your reaction to the incident is more controlled than the incident, it decreases the amount of tension. And we are just wired to continually stoke that fire and make everything worse and blow everything out of proportion and jump to the worst case scenario instead of just taking a deep breath and being nice to people.
Yep.
So again, I don't want this to, it was funny. I think sometimes I get a bad rap that I'm, that I'm, I don't know, what was the word? What would be the word you'd use to describe me? I don't think I'm grumpy or ornery or, you know what I mean? I think that, I don't know what, I don't want this to, you can still be a good person.
Sociable.
You could still be a good person and not give compliments.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is I think it will make us a much better person if we can do this, and I think it'll help us get out of that mindset of it feeling weird or uncomfortable. Now for you, for example, we'd have to be careful. We'd have to, gotta make sure that your compliments are to the
direct.
right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. But 30 days from today, we are going to do 2 things. We're going to talk about our response from this, and we're going to try again.
This?
I think you might need a blood transfusion to make up from. Make sure you get some candy or something.
Gosh,
guys, I hope this. I think a lot of entrepreneurs can learn some things from just this concept of the elevator principle in the Compliment Club. But I'd love to see as many people as possible take on this challenge with us. And if you're someone that's like, duh, we've been doing this my whole life, hey,
good.
Power to you. I'm going to try and be more like you over the next 30 days.
And if you're a member here at the gym, you see Steve, give him tons of compliments. I want you to surround him with love.
Oh, man, that makes
makes you feel funny, right?
Makes me feel funny. Oh, geez. Okay, guys, have a great rest of your day. I hope you enjoyed this. Make sure you find us on YouTube. Make sure you find us on iTunes, Spotify. Check this out. We're going to start leading off with what episode this is, but we're getting up there. Yeah. Our year anniversary is right around the corner in a couple months, and we're going to keep on doing this.
Something special for that.
Yeah, we should do something fun. So it's been a good ride. I've enjoyed it.
Man, when you say it like that, it's like it's ending.
No, it's not going to end.
It's been a good ride. And after this podcast is over, like, Philip, we'll have to let you go. How about 10-4?
Hey, but you do see, got the man candle today.
Oh, and we also got some prints in the background.
Yep.
If anybody needs some prints done, we got that.
Those look pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's man, I own this business and I don't have any cool prints that he made inside the facility anywhere. So maybe I can contract Philip out to do some artwork around the gym.
I'll give you a discount.
All right, guys, have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you soon.